This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so if the secretary would note the members present, and it appears to me we're short of a quorum unless somebody's online. I don't see anybody.
Councilor Corn, I'm online.
Oh, okay, very good. So please note that Councilor Perry's online. So we'll call to order. Roll call's been made. Approval of the agenda.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would like to remove items 8 and 9 from today's agenda, pending the outcome of item 7, not knowing what that cost is at this point in time, and remove those items till the next Finance Committee meeting.
Mr. Chairman, could y'all please repeat that one more time?
Oh, Councilor Perry, I'm recommending that we remove items 8 and 9 off today's agenda, pending the outcome of item 7, which we don't know what those costs are yet, the remediation project, and that we postpone those items until the next meeting.
And is that part of your motion for the agenda? If so, I second.
I can't understand what he said.
I think he seconded it, what I heard. Okay, so I got a motion and a second. Is there any objection? Hearing none. Okay. So
That was, excuse me,
That was not a
Mr.
motion.
Chair, that was not a motion. He was just asking to confirm what, if you were adding that to your motion.
Yeah.
But I don't think he did a second. Did he?
was that,
Ask him if he got a second.
He said,
are you seconding that, Council?
Yes, second.
I'm taking that as a yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we're moving 7 and 8 and
No, 8 and 9.
8 and 9, excuse me. And we're going to go ahead and discuss where we are in the remediation, which may add extra light to those items, but I don't think we're to a conclusion yet. Colette's here. Do you have any other information at this time? Okay,
About the remediation?
yeah,
No, sir.
okay. So any objection? Hearing none, we're moving items 8 and 9. Okay. And we've got approval of minutes for February 2nd and February 13th. I'll take them one at a time or together, whatever you guys want to do. Mr. Hill,
I had
Councilor.
nothing to add to those.
Okay,
So, Mr. Chair,
yes.
I move that we approve the minutes from the meeting of February 12th and February 13th of the Finance Committee.
February 2nd and 13th motion
Second.
is to approve. Oh, yeah, we got a second. Any objection? Hearing none, or approved. Non-action items, information reports. I think we're going to start with gross receipts. Mr. Francis.
Started here. Gross receipts report for the month of February, we actually collected $4.3 million. We anticipated $3 million for a positive $105,000 for the month of February, which is for the activity in December. So it was quite an upswing for that month. We'll go to the next slide. Did not include that one. If you can minimize that, so you can see.
get to the,
Frankie.
sorry, I can't get to the,
There you go.
oh, you want to miss my stats?
Okay.
Okay.
So as you can see there, just the comparison, year to date, we've collected 29.6 million. Budgeted, we were anticipating at this period at 25.1 million. So we're up $4.5 million, 17.9%. In your packets, by the time we printed out, go ahead and go to the next slide. By the time we printed out the packets, the cannabis report wasn't online at the state's website. So that's why it's not in your packet. But for the month of February, we did receive $19,000. Year to date, we're at $127,000 collected. Any questions on the
Quick review on the cannabis tax. None of that has ever been encumbered. And there's no strings on how we spend the money. Is that right?
I believe there are some provisions that may have some guidelines on how we need to use that money, but it has not been budgeted or expend, or specifically
Okay.
dedicated.
Well, so that's not my piggy bank yet. All of it. Some of it maybe, but not all of it. Okay. Go ahead.
So as you can see, one of the things that's different on this packet, Elizabeth is tracking some of the state appropriations. So she developed a more detailed report. We'll go ahead and go to the next page. And this is just a snapshot of the first page of that report that kind of gives a little bit more detail on some of the grants, state appropriations, what their activity is so far. So she's working closely with some of the directors on those appropriations, especially those that are due at the end of June 30th, and then tracking all of the ones that are coming up due the following year and so forth. So if you have any questions in that report, either the directors present can answer or Elizabeth. With that, Mr. Chair, will stand for any questions.
Okay. Or is it anticipated, based on what you know, that any of this money will go unencumbered, so we have to send it back to the state?
Well, the ones that I was kind of worried about were the zoo and the police department vehicles because they kind of take a while to get. But we got delivery of the cart today, the golf cart today. So John will sign that invoice. I'll submit it. The vehicle has to do something with the VIN that they're working on, but we should get that in time to get that recouped. And then I just got the PO approved for the police vehicles, so we should get that. On the I think it's 22 ZG, the very first one on there, 9095, we actually have, we only have about 13,000 left to recoup on that one. So where last month we didn't have any money recouped, so. We also have the Carpenter Park on the capital appropriations. Carpenter Park got approved for the additional 6,000 and with AKA sales. And so they'll be putting in, is it a bench gym or? Yeah, so that got approved. So we won't be paying any of that back. I think there's like about 900 or 600 left on that. That's about all that will go back.
Okay.
So, but for the most part, everything is pretty much on track. And then we did get the approval for the extension on the Veterans Cemetery. So that one's good to go. And then we got the approval for Lone Mountain for, I don't remember, that's one of Lewis's projects, and it was 300 and something. Yeah, inclusive park. So that was transferred over. And so we were able to use that money from another project. So we're doing pretty good.
Okay. Questions? Committee members? Okay. That gets us to the information reports. Start with you.
All right, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this is the lodger's tax update report for December activity, which was collected in January. So we had 3 hotels for December activity that reported late. The 3 were Fairfield Inn, Simple Rewards, and Town Place. We are notifying them to let them know that they still need to meet the deadline. We have heard that one of them is going through ownership change. That is not on our list. And so we will have to monitor that one closely because they have been pretty late pretty frequently. STAR report data shows that we're at about 54% occupancy for the month of December. Our ADR percent change was less than 1%, and year on year we were up overall 10% for that. Bonnie Bitzer did resign from the occupancy tax board, so that we have 1 member at large vacancy with I think we had 2 applications submitted for the mayor to review. Next slide.
Okay. So we're about to get that back up to full speed. Okay, very good.
We have for our lodgers tax collections, so we had in January 111,293. You'll see that it's much higher than in years past, but remember, we did have people that were late in December. It was submitted in January, so that's why you're going to see that increase. We're pacing on par. If you go to the next one, that's the bed fee. Same thing here. We collected $68,305 for December activity, which was reported in January. All I have.
Any questions? Councilor Perry, any questions?
No questions.
Councilor Hildebrand?
No.
Okay. Now, let's go to the open PM, my favorite topic. Where are we?
Everybody take over.
So after we met last week, when Mike and you and I met over all of this, I generated a new report. Go down to the bottom. This one has 17 million on it still. Mike sent out an email and asked everyone to go through the purchase orders and tell us whether they would be expended this year or whether they would be a carryover to next year. We did not get responses from all departments. But the ones that we did get, the majority of them will be expensed this year. We gave them through, it was through Tuesday, but I received some as of today too, that I haven't gone back and tried to take off what I know is going to be a carryover, but it's not going to be $17 million. So we're looking at the majority of that hitting this year.
Well, okay. I mean,
Got directors in here, any that you want to ask questions of? And
well, I mean, and I don't need to know all the ins and outs of each one of these line items, but as I look through the report, we've got things left open from 2021. Here, 2020, got the landfill for 2020 for 28,000. What's the status?
It's actually a permit modification for the landfill. It's a very drawn out, long process. You have to actually go to the state, or the state capital and ask for moving. What we're going to be doing that modification is we're going to be accepting special waste, regulated asbestos, petroleum-based solids, biosolids. So in that permit modification, we have to provide the entire new application to the state, and we have to actually go up there with our council and negotiate that. That's why the permit stays so long. But here is a letter that was provided today. Give you an explanation of what's going on.
Thank you. Mass transit, I mean, I don't get really excited on something that's current. Next month, I'll get excited about 2023 because we're getting to the end of the fiscal year. We need to get this stuff accounted for, whatever. But when it's as old as 2020 and 2021, mass transit's here for 239,000.
Yes, sir. We adjusted our POs for the 20% that we will owe for the buses, but they're still not here. And they may not be here by the end of June. I got an update from them. And they told us they released 6 chassis. They didn't. They released 2. And I don't even know if those 2 will be ready by year end. So I have a PO from 2021 and also from 2022 that it would carry.
Well, I mean, I understand that. If you can't get the stuff here, it's out of our control. I understand that, but I don't have a whole lot of explanation. I mean, this report is rather lengthy. And recreation, you got one capital outlay infrastructure from 2021.
$122.
The 120, that is
1.2.
engineering. That was the Salem complex. It was the consulting with Bohannon and Houston, I think it was the name. That is Lewis's.
Okay. Well, that's a good one we'll take up later.
Yep. Cielo Grande.
Sanitation, $810. I'm not too worried about that. Wastewater, got two from 2021.
Well, let me just point out something.
Go ahead.
Why would you have for 2021 a contract for professional services?
Good question. Sanitation? Do you have an explanation?
On sanitation?
Yeah, it's $810 for, it says it's professional services. Why wouldn't that have been closed out?
We get the PO, we get it out, but we have been going through all individual POs.
All right.
It depends. It's kind of like a cash card, and it looks like that's a balance for the rate study. For the next gen, we have that closed out, so we should be able to close that.
Okay.
Might have been an remaining balance.
Close it out and get rid
Yeah,
of it. Put it in the current
let's
year.
move it on.
I look at some of the-
On that note, because I know that's, as mentioned, that was from Nugent. Nugent was doing the rate study not only for the sanitation, but also, but for water as well. The water side still needs to be completed. Not sure that will be a finance determines whether we close this PO and reissue a new one under water.
I
Is
think
that project
water-
still?
We actually have one still open also on 21 for new gen for the rate study, which we're still trying to complete that one. So we want to see about getting a new PO issued, but that's going to be kind of.
Well, is this the contract professional services wastewater for 20,000? Is that part of the same? Below the zoo, zoo's are pretty current, so. Going down a little more, let's go to wastewater. There you go, contract for professional services, 20,000.
So we got a HDR still working on our dewatering project and our dissolved oxygen upgrade. It's been a long time coming to get that project moving forward, because we have design and then we get into construction and then we finalize the project. But that one will carry over into next year. That's one of our big projects that will carry over. That's an $8.6 million project in total. We have design from HDR, and we have construction and inspection from HDR also on the separate PO, and then we have the actual construction for Smithco.
Okay, well, do you have any other questions?
No, I just see those out there. I even see that under the general fund.
Yeah,
Contract 2020 contract for professional services for $10,914. Why is that still open?
Which one is it?
It's under the general fund.
Oh,
Is it on bit a quarter? So, geez. Okay, 2020.
Mr. Chair, while they're looking for that one real quick, just a quick note. One of these for Landmark, it is $660,000. That's still open. We don't anticipate using maybe another $67,000 out of that to complete the project. So that's going to be about amount coming back
is that a general fund PO or do we know?
as well.
Is it a general fund PO?
No,
or-
no, this is the enterprise fund.
Okay,
That's your capital outlay, 660,000 you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
well, if we free that up, we can use it someplace else. It's not a state grant or federal grant or any of that stuff. Something we have some control over.
Counselor Hildenbrand, that $10,000 was for planning, and it was the prior year, and they didn't know how to close it, so Chanel closed that yesterday. for
Okay.
us. So
Oh, good, good.
Thank you.
Hey, I like that. We got one closed.
any prior years, the departments can't close themselves. Finance has to close it for them.
I understand.
Good.
And,
So she's closed several, but it's just not $17 million.
well, it sounds like we're making progress and that's what we need to do. And we need to get a little better at getting these things finalized and done. And I understand that some people in Santa Fe are changing the way they are accepting paperwork for reimbursement. And so we got to learn whatever it is they want and try to comply with it or get them come back to the old way. You know,
Some of these will be open purchase orders. So instead of using credit cards, because we've had issues in the past with everybody wanting to use a credit card for everything, we've allowed them to do open purchase orders. And I'm going to use water as one. They have several open purchase orders for, what is the place on Second called?
Oswald Lifestyle.
Yeah, where they do like a, and I don't know how much it is, but like a $5,000 purchase order. And every time they need something, they go over there. When it gets low, they add more money to it. So some of these will have small amounts that'll close out at year end that they don't spend, but some of them are also open with no necessarily an expenditure tied to it yet. So.
okay. Any other questions?
No further question.
Councilor Perry, you have any questions?
No questions at this time, and no, not at this time.
Okay. All right. So that moves us to item number 5, a discussion on delinquent account process, starting on page 39. Oh, my goodness, who stood up?
I'm the only one brave enough. Janie and I are, maybe it's not Janie and I.
My report didn't generate.
Okay. We knew one question that you guys would have was how much do we have delinquent? And we're having a heck of a time getting the report to generate. So as soon as we figure that out, we will let you know.
Okay.
Get that out.
Is that another one of those Tyler issues?
Because it's so large that it goes and goes and goes and nothing ever comes up, does it?
No, it just, you know, that little wheel of death that you get? Yeah,
I got it.
that's what we get.
Been there, done that.
Some information on the delinquent accounts. So back in September, when we started doing the enforcement collections and stuff again, we signed 481 payment arrangements that month. 85 of them were completed. 396 were broken that month, by the next month. So people just came in, signed up for them with more than likely no intention of doing it. So that was an 18% completion rate for those reports. However, that was still 85 households we were able to help. And we continue to do that. When we can, if we can set stuff up and make something work for somebody, we do that. Shutoffs in January, we did a total of 541 shutoffs. The amount delinquent for those was $153,615.03. We averaged about 42 per day. And that's, you know, if you work it out, it's 10.5 hours per day of manpower to go out and shut these guys off. And then you have to remember that after we shut them off, we have to turn them back on when they pay. So that, you know, we're eating up about 21 hours of time on these delinquent accounts. In February, it actually went down to 326 shutoffs for a total of $116,395.02. So it's working. When we do the shutoffs, the day that we shut it off, it's done by cycle. So the customer, their water is shut off. They get a door hanger that says how much is owed, what the terms are, because once it's shut off, the ordinance requires that they have to pay the balance in full. And it also says how they can get some assistance or, you know, other things to do. They get a delinquent notice at least 10 days prior to that that tells them, come in and set up a payment arrangement, come in and talk to us, make some form of communication with us, and we will do assistance. But, you know, we get a number of them that just don't. On average, I think Ernest said that they were sending out like 180 delinquency notices, and then we're doing, 42 of those per day. We're going out and shutting them off. So the delinquency notices, they help considerably. Once the bill is paid, we do restore service that day. There is a charge after 2 p.m. because we get a 2 p.m. list to go turn on. And by the time we get done with that, we're into overtime. So there's an extra charge if they want it turned on and they pay late that day. And all that does is cover our costs. There's no profit in that or anything. It's just what it's costing us to do it. The problem that we're starting to have though is the customers don't pay. We go out, shut them off, and they turn themselves back on. And nobody seems to think that's a problem until Chantel goes out and visits them. The first time they get a warning. It says, if you do this, it's a petty misdemeanor, 90 days in jail, $500 fine. We still have, and then she shuts them off. We still have people that just go back and turn it on. And then she goes back and issues a criminal summons, and they go visit the city court judge. We have had a number of them that we have been able to work on different ways of getting them to pay their bill. The judge has been very good about letting us work with them. He usually sentences them very minimal fine and court costs. But he does put them on a 6-month probation. And what we try, and we set this up just the other day with one, he called up and he says, I can't do this. I can't get ahead because I'm trying to, it's just, and Chantel and I and Ernest sat down with him, worked it out so he could do over that 6 months. He could do a payment plan that he was paying what he owed that month and then chiseling away at his other part. He got his water turned back on. So, like I said, anytime we can work with people, we do, but we are limited on a lot of things that we can do by the ordinances. That's what we have to follow. The criminal complaint actually has nothing to do with the outstanding amount because we can't use the city court as a debt collection agency. So, but what they're getting charged for is tampering with the city valve. That's our valve by ordinance. We're the only ones allowed to do it. And we just have people that won't listen. Some of the things that we're looking at to try and recoup some more of our funding, we have a lot of people that are renters that come in, that will sign up, had one over the weekend. Everything, and then all of a sudden they disappear. They left going $1,400. So we are in the process of looking at the possibility of using a collection agency to go after those. The ones that own the property and live on the property, those we can do liens on. And we'll be coming to you guys with information on that here shortly. There's a timeline set in the ordinance on what we have to do with those. The other thing that we're looking at doing is, I don't know if anybody's recently went and got their gas turned on, but they do a soft credit check right there. It's an instantaneous thing. And with that, then we can help, do they need a deposit? Do they need more of a deposit, less of a deposit? It will help us with that. And then we'll be getting with the city attorney on, figuring out how we can set those deposit numbers and that can be correct. That's all I have. Like I said, if these people would communicate with us, we will do whatever we can to help them. But when they ignore everything, our hands become tied.
Question?
Nope.
Mr. Perry, Councilor Perry, questions?
You heard this spiel on Monday too, so.
Oh, well, yeah. Now I happened to see you on your feet. I didn't know what you were talking about as I walked by the door, so. Counselor Perry. Counselor Perry. Hello? It appears we lost our quorum. Counselor Perry.
You were there, you were here at City Hall the other day when we had that interaction with the one customer. And he wasn't gonna pay his bill. I'm not gonna pay it, turn my water back on. So it's not fun.
No. Counselor Perry.
He says he's on, it's for.
I am here. The service is just very poor, and it's hard for me to get through with my voice for some reason.
Okay. You have any questions? Mr. Flynn?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So I don't know if you're prepared to answer this question. How's it been going since we increased the rates that should have been increased? As far as collections, we don't have any data yet.
Not good data. We haven't had the negative comments. There hasn't been anybody complaining about the increase that come in.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Moving on, discussion recommendation regarding the rec pool remediation project. Is it yours?
No. Oh, I got one more.
You got one more.
Oh,
Nice try. Didn't get me to sit down that fast.
I'm trying. Go ahead.
So we're in the process of going through and revising chapter 26 of the municipal code that deals with utilities. The process that we're hopefully going to use is most of this will go to infrastructure to deal with. What we're going to do is I will present it like this month. I'm presenting this information for discussion. The next month is when we would actually go through it, have action or table it until the next month. That way you guys have a full month to be able to read through stuff, study it, see what you want to do, ask questions, all that kind of stuff. Instead of having a week to make decisions and figure out what you want to do. So you'll always have a month before you have to do anything with it. What I would like you guys to look at is on page 12 and 13, 14. Those are the sections on the way the fees would be structured. And this is in no way set in stone. One of the recommendations that we've been getting out of our training is when you do utility fees, people want to know what they're paying for. They don't want to just see base rate and consumption. They want the base rate broke out. What does this pay for? How much of it pays for operations? How much of it goes into infrastructure investment? That kind of thing. And that's what this sort of breaks out. One of the controversial topics in here, though, is section 26-41. I don't like the way this is labeled, but it's fire protection and system upgrade fees. Basically, what this is a impact fee. It is charged to empty lots that have infrastructure around it that's available to them. The idea with it is that the infrastructure is there and available. Grandma Smith down the road has been paying for 20 years to maintain it, upgrade it and everything, but this vacant lot doesn't pay any of that. So do we have them pay a little bit at a time? each month? Or do we charge an impact fee when they connect to it? Councilor Best brought up some really good points on this. Is it fair to charge the person that's just letting the land sit there for something that somebody else is going to do if they sell it? So it's no matter what, if you decide to do it, it's going to be controversial. I can argue it either way, but it's something that we just need to discuss. It's all stuff that my job is to bring everything to you and you guys choose off the menu. So that's what I have here for fees and stuff. If you guys would read through that. And if you have any questions, email me and I will get the information back to you.
Page 61.
And then Councilor Corn has the book, which is the AWWA standard on
Yes,
water rates.
I know exactly where it is, actually, really and truly.
So that's one thing that, we pay these people to have rate studies and stuff. If you look at the rate study that they give you, they say that they use AWWA Manual 1. Because that manual tells you how to do it. So why we pay somebody a whole bunch of money to do it, I don't know, but that's not my call.
Well, my trying to get through that manual gives me about 5 minutes, then I go to sleep.
Wonderful to put you to sleep at night. Come down and crashes you in the face.
I tried setting it under my pillow and that didn't work either.
Osmosis, it didn't happen by osmosis.
No, I'm trying all sorts of tricks, but I am.
They're not working.
Okay.
So when we come to fees and stuff, in this, we will be bringing it to you along with infrastructure. So that's kind of where we are on this. I would like to see us be done with this by December. If we don't get it done, that's fine too. This is one of those documents that needs to be done and done right and everybody be happy with it. Because when people complain, it's coming to you.
Oh, there's a document now.
With that,
When's the last time this has been redone?
there are some stuff in there that's like from the 70s.
70s and 80s.
Yeah, 70s, 80s. There was a 92, it's way old. There's been chunks of it that have been fixed here and there. And that's why when I talked to our previous city attorney and our current one, this is going to be a repeal and replace. And we're just going to redo the whole thing.
When you get in trouble, when you piece it over time
And then the big issue with doing something like this is you change something in the back and it doesn't coordinate with something in the front.
Right.
So
correct. Oh, good job.
Yeah, okay, we'll be watching that intently.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Perry, do you have any questions?
We had really good discussion about it at infrastructure on providing information and.
I understand that, but I gotta have a quorum. And
yeah,
if I'm calling him and he doesn't respond, then I've lost a quorum and this is just informational. But we're fixing to.
Sir, I'm here.
Okay, all right. Okay. So, because we're about to get to business stuff and we got to maintain a quorum. Okay. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Now, this is going to be quite the discussion, I feel quite certain. Okay, discussion of remediation and recommendation regarding the Recreation Center pool and remediation project. Is that you or you?
I'll take it.
Okay.
So in the testing that we've done so far, it only had us asking more questions. It provided more questions than answers. So what we know is that Ceresco parts, repair parts for the unit are in Albuquerque, set to be picked up either today or tomorrow. And they will be on site next week for installation next week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the repair. So the unit will be working normally by next week. That's step one. Step two, we have to do, I think we need to do more testing on the roof. We found mold between the metal deck and the membrane roof surface in one area. Now we're testing it now across the roof, potholing it across the roof so we can see if now are we dealing with the moisture issue from underneath? Is it the roof membrane itself that we're having issues with? We don't know where exactly everything stops. So we're going to retest everything, including the roof surface. That will provide us with more information because right now we don't know how much of the roof do we need to take off? Do we need to take it off? The CDC is not clear on their guidelines for mold amount. The health department isn't clear. They won't give a concrete number because everybody is affected differently by different levels of mold. So they won't give a concrete number. If you're below this number, you can leave it, or if it goes above it, you got to deal with it. So we're just going to open it up to see what the levels we are going to get will help us determine that. That's where we are currently right now. I did reach out to Hewitt Solars. They gave me the information on the screw detail, which was a question for us earlier in the month. So we have that answer now. It was done to spec in some ways, in other ways in not. The screw penetration, it dictates in this that the screw penetration is not supposed to drop below the lowest point in the deck. Well, it goes through the lowest point in the deck in some areas. So that's something that this says that should have been dealt with at that time. I don't think that that's going to cause the moisture. At least I don't think it would, but I don't know. We have to pull parts of the roof off to see what the screws are doing in there. Are we getting moisture wick up through the screws and into the deck? Because we found moisture in 2 layers of roof insulation, the felt, and on the bottom side of the membrane itself. So all layers, and standing water on the deck in one area. This was the lowest area that we checked first. So if there was going to be moisture, it was going to be down at the bottom side. We want to see how high does it go up. And that's where next test that's scheduled for this Friday to do more testing. We're going to do more air samples throughout the entire facility because I want to have a full picture. So we're going to test on the dry side. We're going to test in the lobby and then back into the pool side now that we've got the unit working also right now. So we have more questions than answers right now.
So it sounds like this is going to continue. Let me ask this question. At least it's my thought that we've got to get the locker rooms opened up again before we can open outdoor pools. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so we need to get those tested and cleaned up.
That's included in the quote that I got yesterday.
Okay.
So those will be tested, both of the locker rooms and that hallway between the areas. The locker rooms and the hallways are on a separate HVAC system to the pool. It can be sectioned off in that way. And then that way we have a clean separation between the spaces.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
So maybe the rest of the building won't be too bad.
We're seeing that's the trend so far. The pool area was by far the highest concentration and it got less as we got further away from the pool. So that's the trend right now. But I want to have a full trend on it before.
So it's probably not a question. No, I won't even refer to this question. We don't have any idea.
Chair, can you all speak just a little bit louder for minutes because it's kind of not as loud over here.
Okay. So we don't have any rational way of computing a timeline on this thing.
No, sir.
Okay. So it could be another 60 days, 90 days, 120 days.
It's hard to say. A few of the things that have to be considered are we have to clean the air conditioning unit itself. Now, there's other ways to do that. We can fog it. That there is a sock that supplies the air that goes around the perimeter of the building. That has to be dealt with also. I don't know, does that absorb, moisture and hold on to it? Do we have to pull it down, sanitize it? Can it be pulled down and cleaned like that? Or do I have to replace it? So Veritech is the company and they're going to be here next week and those are going to be questions for him as well.
Okay, but we're working on it.
Yes, sir.
Sound like we're really working on it. Well, that's good. We can just do what we can do. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. How much of the facility is shut down at this point in time?
The entire pool side with the locker rooms.
That's all that's shut down at this time. Yeah. So we're monitoring on the other side and have no evidence of mold.
It's trace amounts,
Below whatever standard.
but it's better than outside.
Okay.
It's trace amounts. It did, outside you get it, you breathe it, but it's less than that inside.
Okay.
But it did test positive.
That's it.
Councilor Perry? Well, I guess we'll go till we get down to voting and see if he's here. And that's,
Did he just disappear?
huh?
It's disappeared. Yeah, we lost him.
Still.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you all for your participation. We'll go to public comments.
There's another call that came in. Oh, that's Councilor Perry.
Councilor Perry, you still with us?
Yes, sir. I'm able to hear you. There was a moment I couldn't, but I do.
Okay, all right, so we can continue on then. Item 10, public library fines and fee schedules.
67.
I got it. I'm caught up now, believe it or not. Well, it's hard for you to believe.
No. Just happier.
So we've added what they're called hobby kits. This is one, it has a book in it, and then this is for disc golf. It has a bag with the disc in it they check out. And so part of the new fines and fees is requesting replacement costs for the hobby kits. Okay. Okay. So we're looking at fines and fees, and two things we keep in mind is that this goes fast. We want our community to use the library, but we also want our materials back. We did the research, next slide. And we are not the only, next slide, library that does not offer, is looking at eliminating or has already eliminated fines and fees for books that are materials that are overdue. There's actually 14 libraries in New Mexico that do not charge overdues. Next slide. Some rationales for having overdue fines is that it brings back materials faster. There's no research that backs this up. Next slide. Another one is it teaches responsibilities, but we're not by removing overdue fines, we're not saying that we're removing all responsibilities. So, I had some more slides. So, next one, if you have it. No? Okay. So I have pictures. Rationales for having overdue fines. One is that fines generate revenue for the library. And I know that money does not grow on trees, but it also takes an effort to collect the fines. We anticipate that it costs somewhere between $15 and $16 per transaction. I'm going to show this one up to the screen because it has lots of information on it. There you go. There for you. This tells you how much we have collected in fines and also how much we've collected in printing costs. Printing costs, fines cost 20 cents a day, and printing cost is 15 cents per day. Local printing costs range from 10 cents to 30 cents. So this is what I am proposing, that we increase our printing costs by 25 cents and eliminate overdues for items that have been returned in good condition. If an item has not been returned in 28 days, then we we do not allow them to check out any more items until that's cleared. If they have items that have checked out for 49 days, then we add a $25 processing fee. What we hope that will happen from this, and has happened in other libraries, is there's been an increase in library use. There's an improvement in library and staff relationships, and we do not spend dollars to collect dimes. So what you have on the abstract is all the changes. What I've given you is a strikeout one. Since I have a hard time sometimes reading the strikeouts, after the strikeouts, I've given you the draft that I would like that I'm presenting to be approved. The new schedule for fees, which takes away the overdue fees of 20 cents per day, adds in language to replace costs of hobby kits, and adds a $25 processing fee. We do need to change resolution 2288, and I've given you resolution 23, which 23-11 is what it's going to be. We've included in the resolution a change on line 46 and a change on line 47. Any questions?
I looked through all of this. I think we already had a discussion when we had to write off some stuff. And it's just like costing you more and more. It's not cost effective to do this. And you know, I don't find any problem with what you've suggested here.
Okay. Councilor Perry?
And there is a penalty for not suspending the privilege, and so.
Yeah. Okay. Councilor Perry, you have any questions?
No, it makes sense what she's bringing to us.
Okay. What's your all's pleasure?
This was brought before the general services. They did put it on the consent agenda. Is that correct? You referred it. Okay.
You
Sorry.
referred it here. Okay.
Okay.
Well, let me see if I can get this worded right on item 10.
So,
Yeah. It's 73 is the resolution.
right.
So, okay, if you're ready for a motion there.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I suggest that we place on the consent agenda for regular council meeting on March 9th, resolution 2311 as presented, which is a resolution for a schedule of fines and fees for library materials.
You also need to do the policy since that had been approved by city council.
Is that in your resolution?
No, it's a separate document.
I'm seeing that as a separate item.
Okay.
Okay.
So I've got a motion for the right, and I got a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Motion passes 3-0. Next part of your.
I love it.
Is the next part would be approve the revisions to the library fines and fees LB 002 that was ratified on July 12th, 2018.
Based on what we've already discussed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Questions? Motion?
Well, let me just get here.
Okay. It's kind of cumbersome.
Well, yeah, because I'm trying to understand what we're trying to do here.
Oh, here.
And it looks like we'll consider approval of spending $99,000.
No, this is this one. This is the policy here, the overdue policy. And because we're eliminating fines and fees, what I did was,
We already did that.
no, that was a resolution. They're two different documents.
Okay. What the agenda says.
we would like to put the resolution and the policy together.
Yeah, I think just throw it back in and put it together.
Makes it easy.
Easy and let it go.
Mhm.
I think that's what we were doing with the last motion that was made.
No, we just did half of it.
Okay. So I'd like to go back and amend that motion. Can we go back and redo that? So I'd like to place on the consent agenda again, item resolution 2311, which is a resolution for schedule of fines and fees for library materials and to the fee schedule. And the library fine and fee policy.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a change in the motion. Counselor Perry, any objection?
No objection. Second.
Okay.
Seconds.
Okay, so any further debate? Anybody opposed? That's just 3-0.
Okay.
Okay, now we move on to number 11. The approved spending up to $99,837 for books recorded, DVDs, processing fees, etc.
I have an abstract in front of you, and so there you go. What I'm doing is just asking you to allow me to spend what has already been budgeted for. I am required to spend a certain amount of money. It's roughly by state statute, $1.50 per person in your legal area. The state has said it is $72,549 and some odd cents that I'm required to spend. So I'm just asking that I could spend it, so that I'm following procurement rules.
Right. It's already in your budget.
It's already in my budget.
Okay.
Any debate? Hearing none, I guess I'm ready for a motion.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, he's a good second.
He's gonna hold me in the future. So, Mr. Chairman, I move that we put on the consent agenda, or is that okay at 99? That's okay. We can put it on the consent agenda unless somebody else can remove if they want.
Right.
To approve the spending of up to $99,837 from the general fund for books, recorded books, DVD processing fees, and handling charges through the vendor Ingram, which is already a budget item. So.
Okay. I have a second.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Any opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Now, the budget adjustment.
Good afternoon. Today we're asking for an increase in revenues of $1,224,553 and expense $1,627,509 and including transfers. Next slide. In revenues in the general fund, it's a total of $80,970. This includes $71,412 for a police reimbursement for the purchase of body cameras and $9,558. This is a county portion for dispatch. They are requesting the purchase of UPS units as backup for their power outages. In the law enforcement protection fund, $54,699. Again, this is for a reimbursement for their body cameras. In the capital improvement fund, $393,592. This is an appropriation for the all-inclusive park. In the golf fund, a total of $329,988. 45,616 of this is projected alcohol sales through the end of the year based off an increase in their expense. 36,000 for projected food sales through the end of the year based off an increase in their expense. $69,401 for the sale of merchandise through the end of year based off of an increase in expense, and $178,971. This is projected cart revenue through the end of the year. In the recreation fund, $57,420. This was projected revenue that was approved at the last city council meeting based off an increase in their expense. $49,990. This was for a grant received for recreation for the installation of equipment. In the lodgers tax fund, they received $3,542 for a co-op. It was a travel reimbursement. And the restricted donation fund, a total of $54,352. This is for various departments that have received donations. And in the water fund, $200,000, and this is for a drought contingency planning grant. Okay. Thank you. Next slide. And in expenses in the general fund, we're requesting a total of $437,307. This includes $150,000 for legal. These are for litigation fees. For police, the $71,412 for the reimbursement of the body cams. In animal control, an increase of $66,000. This includes $20,000 for overtime, $3,000 for uniforms, $25,000 for vet services, $6,000 for general supplies, $10,000 for animal feed, and $2,000 for janitorial supplies. In the Parks Department, a total increase of $87,000 to include $60,000 for building maintenance, $10,000 for equipment maintenance, $5,000 for non-capital tools, $4,000 for general contract services, and $8,000 for general supplies. In IT, a total increase of $39,000, $4,000 for mobile phones, and $35,000 for internet costs. And in dispatch, $23,895. This is for the purchase of the UPS units for the power outages. In the Law Enforcement Protection Fund, $54,699 for the reimbursement of the body cams. In ARPA funds, $2,862. This is to increase the purchase order for the Halo filter project. In the Capital Improvement Fund, $393,592 for the all-inclusive park appropriation. In the Cemetery Fund, $1,000 for uniforms. In the Museum Fund, a total of $18,585 to include $4,714 in conservation maintenance, $11,871 for insurance, and $2,000 for non-capital equipment. In the Golf Fund, a total of $212,580. This includes $8,000 for overtime, $2,500 for the purchase of a fuel trailer for their golf carts, $55,000 for the rental of cart, $500 for dues and memberships, $500 for office supplies, $29,000 for store supplies, $40,000 for concession supplies, and $77,080 for the difference in a quote for the new golf carts. In the Recreation Fund, it's a total of $226,990. $53,000 was for janitorial services, $99,000 for temporary labor, and $25,000 for full temporary labor. Those three items were approved at the prior council meeting, and the $49,990 for the grant of the installation of equipment. In the Lodgers Tax Fund, $3,542. This is the travel reimbursement through the co-op. In the Restricted Donation Fund, the $54,352 for various department donations. In the Solid Waste Fund, $10,000 for non-capital equipment. In the Landfill Fund, $12,000 to include $10,000 for equipment maintenance and $2,000 for general supplies. And in the Water Fund, $200,000 for the drought contingency planning grant. Okay. And finally, in transfers, there would be a transfer between general fund and recreation for $119,580. This is to cover the difference of their expense and revenue that was approved last council. And between the ARPA funds and solid waste, a decrease of $1,955. This is to bring it in line with actuals. Between ARPA and the water fund, a decrease for 242,000, 647. And this is a decrease based on actuals. And between ARPA and wastewater, an increase of 37,154 based on actuals. And I will stand for any question.
Went through that list pretty quick. Questions?
Explain the difference in the ARPA again, please, for the, is what we transferred out then versus what we actually needed.
It's,
The list was, we had a list.
yeah, it's the budget authority that we estimated for budget purposes. And then when we went in and actually applied the ARPA money to the outstanding accounts, then we had to true it up.
Right, and that's the true up, and you had $200,000 extra.
Yes.
Funds available because you didn't need them.
Right.
Does that put us in jeopardy of having to be spent?
No.
So I could just go back. Does that go back to the general fund? Just go back.
We went back to the ARPA fund, and right now the ARPA fund, 10 million of that was lost revenue that we could use for anything. It went back into that, and that's the funding that we use. So it's not affecting any of that. We still have about 254,000 that has to go to a specific type of project that qualifies, but we have until December of 26 to.
We still got that available to us for just, it's got to be a project or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this budget adjustment is a lot smaller than it originally started out at, because it started out at 4 million in revenue and 6 million in expenses.
2 million short.
So.
Yeah, we worked on that
last week.
Yeah. But what's the real short here? 400? Is that what the real short?
Something.
1.6 million in expenses and how much in revenues?
1,224,000.
400,000 to come out or in additional expenditures.
I understand.
Yeah. Okay.
Councilor Perry, are you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm finished.
Councilor Perry, you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. What's your pleasure?
Pleasure is, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I propose to send to full council a resolution 23. We don't know what the numbers are, but a resolution of the city of Roswell amending the budget for the fiscal year June 30th, 23 by increasing revenue and offsetting expenses to various funds as presented.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. Any further debate? Hearing none. Any opposition? Hearing none, 3-0. Okay. Again, we're moving through this a lot faster. I guess it paid off having those earlier meetings.
Probably did.
Okay, so now we got Big Jim.
Mr.
Chair, councilors, we stand here today and we're going to ask for some budget adjustments for our Columbarium project. I'm going to introduce Jeff here with MRWM. He's the architect, landscape architect. We've been working on this for a while, but I think we're about done. So, something to Jeff.
Sure. My name's Jeff Stewart, the landscape architect on this project. And like Jim said, we've been working on this project for a while. I can give you a little bit of a quick history. We started this in 2019. It's just a schematic design for a Columbarium Plaza only. After talking with the cemetery board, they decided they wanted to add a committal shelter to the project. We explored multiple concepts. We also determined that it needed to move to a different site within the cemetery. So we cleared that with the cemetery board and went to the city council and agreed to move it to a different location in the cemetery.
It's location number 3, I believe.
Yes, location number 3, right. But today, so the project includes 2 columbarium walls for a total of 480 niches, a committal shelter, all the landscaping and paving and parking that you see in this image right here. And what I want to also say is this is a very specialized construction. Not everybody can do it. It also has to have, this is a legacy project. This has to be very durable, has to be timeless, and has to have a higher level of finish. So it's impossible to value engineer to make it less expensive. We also, we're wanting to procure a competent contractor using CES. We feel like we get the fairest prices from a competent contractor that way. Going through some of these images, you can see here, this is the committal shelter. This is where this is a place where graveside services can be held in more of a controlled environment rather than being out in the cemetery, walking across the grass, things like that. It's all ADA accessible, easy to get to. Next slide. On the right there, you'll see this is the site plan. So this is the initial phase. All this grass area to the north and to the south, that's future expansion area as the demand warrants it. To the left, you'll see the columbarium walls. Those are double-sided walls. There's 120 niches on each side. That gets you the 480 niches. Next slide. These are just some of the finishes here. So the niche covers are going to be a black granite. The stone veneer on the ends of the walls and also used on the stone detailing in the pavilion or the committal shelter is going to be this classic gray limestone on the left. Any sort of metal embellishments like for lettering or numbers or numerals on the walls is going to be bronze. And the precast cap is going to be this taupe color. Let's go to the next slide.
Hold on, let's go back a couple slides. Let me jump in here.
Sure.
Engineer, you know. I love him. He's to the point, isn't he? All right, one more, go back. Okay, so we talked about materials and you've seen this happen in the past. We've got other structures out there that, you know, black marble from Italy and things like that. These are all pre-sourced here in the United States. And they match stuff that's in our environment here, different buildings and so on. So we've all been out there and there's issues with sometimes with the roads or the roads aren't quite wide enough and you have a large funeral and we've got to get everybody in and out. It's a thing, you know that. So it makes it difficult to keep it moving. We're on our second largest year so far in the history of Roswell right now. The last 400 and some last year. So the family sits here right up front. Coffin, casket, and or the ashes are placed here. If you have a larger group, they're going out this way. A couple of things that we've learned is that this is high enough for an honor guard. The flags fit. We don't have to go back. The flags fit right through here no matter what. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. Columbariums, which he's going to give us some numbers here in a minute. Same thing, local stone. Place to reflect here, relax for a minute. And there's actually some drainage right here. And then you'll see another place people put flowers, slotted drains. Okay. So this nice, quiet, peaceful area. In between the communal shelter here, we'll get on this side. In between the communal shelter and the columbariums is a little kiosk. You know, the square thing in your phone, you click on it, right? I don't know. It's called something, I don't know. Anyhow, you can find your loved one. So instead of going to the office and going through all the books and asking directions, you just click right here and it'll tell you which niche your loved one's at. So you don't have to mess with it. You don't have to bother anyone. You're having a bad day. You just go click and you go straight to your family. Let's see the next one. Okay, local I guess out of California.
It's California.
Yeah, it's California quarry. And then, that's all local stuff either. One thing that was kind of looked at once again was the traffic flow. On the back side of this facility is a concrete driveway. And that's where the coach and the family go. There's no problems. There's no potholes. There's no mud. We have other equipment out there that we use all the time. And we have to move headstones and put them back, and it's always a thing. So you have this here. You don't have to worry about the wind blowing the canopy way. You've been out there in the high wind. Sometimes we can't put that canopy above the family for shade. So, we try. We always can't. So if the weather's just bad, we can ask if the family wants to go here. Now, you have the whole family's in a communal shelter, but when the loved one goes to the gravesite, nothing says the family can't go. I'm old school, and I've had relatives that we want to see the coffin go down. It's just a thing. Sorry, trust issues. Or what? It's bad when the attorney laughs, you know what I'm saying? It's actually a thing. So, you can have your stuff here, your services, and then the family can have some quiet at the gravesite. You can separate the two. And then maybe families, you can separate. You see what I mean? Everybody goes this way and families go to the gravesite, and it's a quieter person. All right, how about that? So, see? You got to wig it, dude. I'm just saying. So I don't let him keep going. But we know that we've heard in other council meetings, they prefer to keep the business in town. Doesn't need to be a local vendor. Yes. Except for maybe the part where you manufacture the actual columbarium. So the actual structure, sometimes you'll see with the columbarium, you pull the doors, they want to kick a little bit. Well, we're not going to do that. It's going to be built by someone that does this all the time. And they have a proven record, because I'm going to buy 2, 3, or 4, 3 or 4 myself. So I don't have to haunt anybody, but I kind of want to stay there for a minute, just a minute. So and one last thing I'm going to throw in here, I'm going to turn him loose again. The average cost for a double niche in the city of Roswell is about 1,000. Jim, y'all put that in your pocket. $1,880 some dollars, I believe, is the average cost of a niche in the city of Roswell for a double niche. And we're a little over at least 50% full casket to ashes. So it's kind of going more to the ash side. We've already had people call and say, can they buy them? We don't have them built yet. Okay, it might be a minute. He's going to give you some numbers. We just pulled that out of the air. We just take $1,500 as just a platform to see how these numbers work. But I just wanted to let you know the average cost is $188,000. But it does have a return on investment. Okay? I'll let him go and he can talk about the numbers. I told him make the numbers small.
Okay, good job.
I know.
Shoes off.
Yeah, I'm learning how it works.
So to sort of build on what Jim's already talked about, in the full build out, that would be utilizing all the space in this columbarium complex. There's going to be about 3,776 double niches. We're just building 480 niches now in this initial phase. The cost for the initial phase is coming in at about $3,177 per niche, but that's because we're building the parking, we're building the committal shelter, we're building all the paving and the landscaping to go with it. As subsequent phases come on, all we're building are the columbarium walls and maybe just a little bit more paving to get to them. So the cost per niche for those will come down to about $750 to $850 per niche. So after you invest in the initial phase and the next few phases, we can start to see some cost recouping and even some extra money at the end for ongoing maintenance and care for the facility throughout its life. So arbitrarily, if, like Jim was saying, if we were to set a cost, or if you all were to set the cost per niche, we're just using $1,500 per niche. That's a total revenue of $5.66 million. Using today's cost information, building the 3,776 niches, that should come in around $4 to $4.5 million. So there is a variance, a positive variance when you get to the ultimate build out. So I think as you get, once you get about 50% of these built, you'll start to see the numbers will be a lot easier. You'll start to see the costs, your initial investment reach. Do we want to go to the next phase, or do we want to, next slide, or do we want to talk about the cost estimates more?
Well, I'd like to talk about the costs. There's hidden costs. You know, on this here, you know, we're gonna keep it clean, we'll sweep it. There's a water spigot, we can wash it, power flush it. But we have like 32,000 headstones at cemetery that we weed whack all the time. And we mow and we plant trees and we trim trees, and, you know, it's hard on the equipment in and out. So in just the hours spent, and I didn't bring those numbers because then you might hold them to me, but how much time it actually takes to do a service. So this is gonna be a little simpler. I don't have to mow the columbarium, but just keep them clean and up to par. So we are looking at reducing manpower on some of these things that are gonna get you later. And we did send this to the cemetery board and general services. Voted bring on all here 100% to come to you guys, and we're hoping that you will send that to full council on the consent agenda for approval. Oh, you heard that. You notice I don't have that abstract in front of me. I'm just winging it, I'm telling you.
Jim, does that include the engraving, that the placard that goes on top of that?
No, well, the engraving on the whole structure, but when you buy the niche, it's like anything else, the mortuary, we'll figure, we have to come up with a standard. All right, so, you know, we got the stone, we got what the plating's gonna look like, but what are you gonna be allowed to stick on the front? And we haven't got that far yet, but that'll probably be done by the mortuary, but we'll have some kind of standard. Veterans that they get shipped in, we put them on later.
Because I just to let you know, I was looking for a place to put some ashes, and at Anderson Bethany, they charge $400 for the placard to have it engraved. So I'm sure they're making money on that, and then it's $600 to, you know, put the urn in there. So, I mean, there's money that you could probably make based off of the placard. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Okay, we look at costs. I mean, we want to provide a service for everyone here, I guess, probably the county even. So they have options. You know, like I said, there's the amount of available space is going down. And, you know, like everything else, the cost keeps going up on everything. We just like to get this done, locked in. We know where we're at, and just make it a little easier on all the folks here, the public, to have a place to put the rest, their loved ones. You know, we all have someone we know has got someone in, it should be put in an urn and put the rest somewhere. It's gonna make it easier.
I'm not sure if there's another slide.
All right, you can hit the button. Oh, look at this.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, I got it right. Look,
That's
I used it by memory. That's crazy. Average double niche is $1,883.33. Go ahead. I was just impressed. I remembered something.
great. Well, that's all I really had. Stand for questions.
Questions?
Yeah, my question is, when you first came, Mr. Burris, for the 800,000, I believe it was that what your first request was?
Yeah, it's been a while.
849,000.
It's in our budget. We've already paid for these costs for the most part.
Yeah, I think some of that was.
Is the 673,000 going to be used for, if your first pass was 849, did you know when you were doing the 849 that you're going to need more?
No, we didn't know we were going to get to this number. And we've had chit chats with a lot of the contractors around here that, you know, not favorable to having prices swing too much. It seems like things are going crazy right now. So we'd like to get it locked in. So no, sir, we did not plan on an increase like this, and there were.
Jim, is that cost in their packet where they can see the actual cost that was on the slide?
It's small.
Yeah, you can't see
Yeah,
it.
I get, I mean, that's, you take a $673,000 over 849, that's unbelievable increase. Now, my question is, when they first went out to, was that even realistic, that bid? Or when I bid, it was an estimation, right?
It was an estimate. And
that's all it was an estimation. And how do you miss an estimation that large?
I can speak to that. So to do the estimate, the initial estimate, and this was back before the pandemic, I used costs from a columbarium project I did in California. And as you know, California is probably the most expensive place to build something. So I used that as the basis of our estimate back then. But the pandemic, as it has caused problems within the construction market, the labor and materials markets, it's very volatile. Everything has just come up so fast. So that's
about an 80% increase.
Yes.
But not all of that is actual needed money because you have a 30% contingency in there.
Well, yes, I do.
So that's why I wanted you to see the actual.
There's a 30% contingency in it?
There is for the construction market volatility. So large. So it's, you know,
I agree.
It is. I agree, but we used to use 10 or 15% as a contingency. Here in recent years, the last couple of years, with the drastic, unprecedented increase in costs related to construction, we've been putting 30% contingencies in our cost estimate.
Have you been using them? Have that 30% been utilized?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
You're $1.5 million, and you're saying 30% of that is, I'm not seeing that in here.
At the bottom, it's right there, I think.
There it is. 345,000 contingency. So we're really saying the project's $1.1 million plus GRT. That's included GRT. We're at $1.1 million. So your increase is really not that much. But how do we know that these prices, what are these prices as of what date?
Well, that cost estimate was done in December of 2022. We've been working with getting it priced. We had our 95% drawings priced by a contractor, and it's coming in right at that estimate number. So we feel really good that that is what we need. We just released 100% drawings. They're being priced right now. They did not change appreciably. I don't see, I see us being able to do the project with that price at 1.1.
I've asked Jeff to check with the folks almost every other day before I came into this room. So I would say that those are pretty current.
It's coming in around 1.3. So it is really the costs we're getting.
Mr. Chairman.
Is using up the 30%.
Councilor Perry.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I am actually in the roundhouse here at Santa Fe. They are about to start a committee, which I need to be able to testify in. Not trying to hold off, but I have just a few moments before I'll have to go in there.
Question about CE. You'll find a local CES contractor?
Mm-hmm. The person's actually putting the niches in.
Yeah, they'll be using the best subs in the industry. So the subs are not local, but
the rest of it's local, and we'll be able to visit the site.
Well, Mr. Perry, Councilor Perry?
Yes, sir.
You want to make a motion?
It's hard for me to let me pull everything up here.
I mean,
So
are you, I'm not going to force that on you. It's just, are you ready? I guess my question is, are you ready for a motion? Because I'll make it.
Okay, no, I'm perfectly content with you making a motion. Let me just say this. I recognize, and I've been a proponent of this being done for a long time because I recognize the massive shift that families are going with burials for their families. They're no longer doing the number of traditional burials as they are for interning through columbariums. This is really a way to be able that we need to be able to provide this. I am not opposed, though, if we need to break these stages down even more, whatever the desire is at this point.
You ready for that?
I guess.
Okay, I'm going to make it limited up to. So if you come over that.
I told you.
I agree.
Just don't come back to this committee because you better find a way to get her done for that price because we got 30% in there. Now, hopefully we get something returned. So, Mr. Chairman, I move that we send a full council the funding increase for the columbarium for an additional $673,376.59, which would bring the total project up to, but not over, $1,522,913.77 with a 35% contingency fee in here, which we hope we never have to get to.
Okay, got a
And
motion.
you get a one-time second.
One time second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, any opposition? Passes 3-0. Thank you, Counselor. Good luck in your meeting. Okay, so now we're to
Thank
public
you.
participation.
You just missed.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything? Public participation, anybody in here?
I'd like to congratulate Robert Gann on passing his level 3 water systems certification.
Oh, okay. When are you going to get to level 1?
Huh?
When are you going to get to level 1? Or is it backwards?
No, level 4.
It goes backwards?
I have to sit at the 3 for a year.
Okay, awesome. Great.
Okay, anything from anybody online? Any X or?
Yeah.
Mr. Burris?
Oh, his keys are still
Yeah.
Maybe, but he'll have to walk.
Oh, you have to talk. Let me have that. Mine now.
He's coming back. Pull a rabbit out of there. You're not supposed to.
I'll have it on when he walks through the door. Okay, no public participation. Everybody's quiet in here. All right. I
Got
guess
nothing to add.
we're adjourned. Thank you all for your participation today.
You've done it in an hour. Yeah.